Well, hey, it's Todd Rhodes from Chemistry Staffing, and I wanted to record a quick video as we start 2022 with some pieces of advice. I've got top 10 pieces of advice I would have for you if you are in charge of a church staff, if you lead a staff, if you're planning on hiring new team members or church staff in 2022. I just wanted to share some thoughts and my top 10 pieces of advice and opinion. These are all opinions, my opinions, but they come out of the last couple years in particular, since we've been going through a lot of things in the church over the past 2 years or so. Some things that we've learned, kind of some trends that we're seeing, and some hopefully helpful advice to you as you plan on staffing your church, hiring, firing, all that kind of fun stuff that goes inside a church during this next year. Okay, so again, these are just my opinions, but hopefully you'll find something that will help you as you kind of move through your next year in leadership at your church. I'm going to try and zip right through these. There are 10 of them, but let me start by saying this. The Great Resignation that we've been talking about and hearing about is real. It really is real. And some of the pieces of advice I'm going to have for you come directly out of what we're seeing, particularly because of this thing we're going through called the Great Resignation. At the end of this video, if you stick around, I'll have a special link for you where you can go and grab a special resource, specifically about the Great Resignation. Okay, ready? Here we go. Number one piece of advice. I read this in I don't remember where I read it, but I thought that's a really good piece of advice, and here it is. Treat your staff like they all have 1 foot out the door. Okay? Treat your staff like they all have 1 foot out the door. Now that sounds a really kind of a negative way to start off with, but let me tell you, like I said, the Great Resignation is real. We're seeing numbers of people changing positions. We're seeing great numbers of people that are actually getting out of the ministry right now. They're going to sell real estate, or they're going to work at FedEx, or taking a job at a local nonprofit. But everyone right now, the last 2 years, has caused everyone to kind of reevaluate their family life, their vocational life, their spiritual life. Everything has kind of come. It's a perfect storm. And my first piece of advice is treat all of your staff like they have 1 foot out the door. Now, do all of them have 1 foot out the door? No, but recent studies have shown that over half of, if these percentages carry over into your church, over half of the people on your team will at least consider moving this year. Okay, so half would consider. Now, they're not all going to move, but it's really important that 2022 is going to be a year where you really need to value your church staff like never before, because if they're not in a good, healthy, growing team staff environment, they may already have 1 foot out the door. So that's the first one. Treat your staff like they have 1 foot out the door. Okay, piece of advice number 2, and this kind of goes along with this. People stay where they grow. People stay where they grow. Okay, so if you have members of your team, that's why I say 2022, if you do nothing but team build internally with your team this year, provide opportunities for growth, provide opportunities for advancement, provide opportunities for input. Those are things that are really going to gel your team and really make people feel valuable. Because people stay where they grow. If they feel like there's no room for advancement, if they feel like their voice is not heard, if they feel like they're not growing in their faith or growing professionally, chances are those are going to be the people that have 1 foot out the door. Going back to number 1, see what I did there. All right, so people stay where they grow. That's piece of advice number 2. Piece of advice number 3, new staff will be harder and harder to find. Third time I'll say this, the Great Resignation is real. We're seeing, I don't want to say a mass exodus, that's way too exaggerated, but we're seeing a larger numbers than we've ever seen, and I've been doing this for a long time, larger numbers than we've ever seen of staff people that are are leaving churches, leaving ministry altogether, that are questioning their calls. And what that means is that the number of available staff when you go to fill an opening is the job market's tight right now. It's a job seekers market. Job seekers will have a lot of opportunity. Those that are hiring, churches that are hiring, it's much harder. What that means is that it might take you longer to find the right person. The right person's out there, and God's not surprised by any of this. But it might take a little longer to find because there are fewer. And let me say this: we see this kind of what I call mid-career is really where it's really hard to find, and it's really hard to find right now. Harder to find in children's areas, in worship, and in youth ministry in particular, because those mid-year career people in children's and youth and worship, many of them have taken other roles or are looking at getting out or taking a break right now. So staff will be harder and harder to find, especially those mid-career. If you're looking for somebody with 3 to 5 to 7 years of experience, those are the ones that are really, I don't want to say hard to find, but they're harder to find than they were a couple years ago because the job market has just tightened up. All right, so that's number 3. New staff will be harder and harder to find. Piece of advice number 4. It's more expensive. It's more expensive everywhere. Okay, right now the supply chain, the inflation, the economy, everything right now. I think the last number I heard was it's like up 7%. So that's translating into salaries. It's translating into salaries in the secular workplace, but it's also making salaries more expensive in the church world as well. So just know that if you have to make a new hire, or if you have to make a replacement hire, chances are it's going to be more expensive than what you want it to be, or more expensive than what you thought it would be. And that leads me to number 5, piece of advice number 5. Some churches may need to consider hiring one person rather than 2 people. Okay? Hire 1 instead of 2. That's piece of advice number 5. Long gone are the days where churches can kind of lowball a candidate and hire somebody for $35,000 and no insurance. You're not going to find very many people that will come to work at a church, even if they're called for that kind of money. They need to be able to live. So gone are the days of the $35,000 salary. Instead of that, or I may be exaggerating a little bit, or even $40,000 or $45,000 is really kind of on the low end now. So rather than maybe a church that would hire maybe 2 people at $45,000 a year, might find that instead of hiring 2 people for $45,000, they may need to hire 1 person at $60,000. So just know that because it's more expensive everywhere, and you have limited dollars available in a lot of churches, that you may need to hire 1 person instead of 2 people. So anyway, that's number 5. Number 6. I might ruffle some feathers here, but no one has the luxury of coasting anymore, right? As church budgets continue to take a little bit of a hit, and I think some churches will have some constricting budgets in 2022 as attendance has not yet come back yet, and some of that money that had continued on in 2021 may start to go down a little bit, particularly with the economy the way it is. Those that coast on a church staff will not be able to have a job for very long. Those that coast will eventually be held accountable, either by you or by your board or your team or your hiring team or your search committee or your personnel committee. Anybody that coasts during these times and doesn't pull their weight is probably not going to have a job in a year. And that's just the reality. I think that we're going to see in 2022 even more than what we've seen in the past. If you're comfortable and you're just in it for the paycheck, this 2022 may not be a great year for you. Okay, so that's number 6. No one has the luxury of coasting anymore. All right, we're already on number 7. I'm under 10 minutes, so that's not bad. I'll pat myself on the back there. Piece of advice number 7, if you're still with me. Hire pastoral first, then platform. Hire pastoral first, then platform. And we found this when COVID started and all of a sudden no churches could meet. So much of the American church has been built around hiring staff to provide the platform, the come and see, the weekend experience, the big group, the platform. And quite honestly, what we found was during COVID, when no one could meet us, the platform went away just like that. It was gone because we couldn't meet. So we had to do online services and those kind of things. But now that we're back in person, there's still the platform. There's still the Sunday afternoon or the Sunday morning service. There's still the big group experience for children and youth and worship and all of that. And what we're saying is you still need platform people, but we're seeing a rise in the need for not just platform people that can sit in an office, and this sounds bad, but sit in an office and program. You still need programming people, and you still need people that can be up front and do the big room types of things. But even more than that, during this 2022 and for the last couple years, you need to consider having more pastoral people on your team. And what I mean by pastoral is people that will disciple, people that will shepherd, people that will do small group ministry, people that will speak one-on-one with people and have those spiritual conversations. That's been really, really important. As we're still, we're still not out of the woods yet. Hopefully we're close to it with this pandemic. But really what we need to do is pastor people, right? And you can only do so much of that from the platform, much more of that from the pastoral type of a position. And we're seeing churches that are starting to hire a lot more pastoral people that can do the platform work, but are also really great with people. They're great people. They're great people. They're people that can have those one-on-one conversations and are passionate about discipleship and are passionate about helping people take their next steps. So that's number 7. Hire pastoral first, and then platform. Number 8. This will get me in trouble too, probably. Number 8 is consider internal hires that may have little or no ministry experience. Now, from a staffing, from a person that co-founded a staffing company, that sounds a little like that's not in my best interest in it, and honestly, it's not. But let me repeat this again. Number 8, consider internal hires with little or no ministry experience. Now, let me do a caveat here. If you're willing to train and mentor. And that's the key. If you are willing to train and mentor someone in ministry, then can they do it if they don't have any ministry experience? Sure, if you walk side by side and show them how to do it. It's really interesting. I was looking at kind of in a rabbit hole on LinkedIn a couple days ago, and I went to a couple of really large churches that I thought this would be an interesting case study. But I looked at all of the staff members that are on LinkedIn that are on staff at 2 or 3 of these larger nationally recognized churches, and what I found was that very few of them, when they started working at these churches, had much, if any, ministry experience. They were marketplace people. They were people that had already gone to that church, had already bought into the vision, mission, values of that church, and because the church was really good at training and mentoring, they were able to bring them on. They'd already probably volunteered. They were some of the strongest volunteers, and that's where I would say to look if you're considering internal hires. And don't let internal hires scare you. The thing about internal hires is they already go to your church. They already like you. They already get the DNA of the church. They're already passionate. Look for the volunteers that just are knocking it out of the park. They're just hitting home runs in a certain area, and maybe start to have a conversation with them. If you are able to mentor and to lead and to train, they can actually be great hires. Now, we can help here at Chemistry Staffing as well. We have a couple different things. One, we have a kind of a pre-hiring, we call it a final fit assessment. If you would like some outside assistance in that, we can definitely help you with that. But we also have some really great mentors that we can get you connected with through our chemistry fractional part of what we do, that will be able to help with some of that training and mentoring if you decide to hire an internal person that maybe doesn't. They're great. They love you. They love your church. They're a great, valuable volunteer, but they don't have that ministry experience. Maybe they're spiritually mature, but they've never worked on a church staff. We can hook them up, help you hook them up with a mentor that can kind of work them through that. So number 8 is consider internal hires with little or no ministry experience. You can hire a lot of times part-time, and even during a trial period. And I think a lot of churches are going to be doing more and more internal hires as time goes on. So that's number 8. Number 9, prioritize generalists over specialists. Prioritize generalists over specialists. This goes back to, let's see, number 5, hire 1 instead of 2. 25, 30 years ago, churches didn't have all of these specialized positions. We didn't have an assistant director of discipleship or a director of communications, or those real specialized roles. A lot of churches would just hire an associate pastor, and an associate pastor would maybe handle some discipleship, maybe handle some communication, maybe handle some preaching, maybe do some of a worship or a youth role. But they were more generalists rather than specialists. And I think because dollars are going to be a little bit tighter, and because the amount that we have to pay for church staff is going to go up, to increase over this next year, that really what we think we think this is the trend, that more churches are going to be hiring generalists that can do maybe 2 or 3 more areas, rather than a specialist that's just kind of pigeonholed into one. The other really great thing about hiring a generalist is that really it changes your mindset when you're hiring a new staff member from, I need this person to do this thing, to a mindset of, I need a person that fits our church, that fits our team, that fits us theologically, that fits us personality-wise, that fits us chemistry-wise. Once we find the person that really fits us, even culturally, once we find that person that fits our church, and we can help you do that at Chemistry if you need some help doing that. But once we find that person, and we bring them on our team, then we can decide, because they're more of a generalist, we can kind of plug them in here, plug the hole over here, and those kind of things. So that's number 9, prioritize generalists over specialists when you can. And then finally, number 10. Here's number 10. We're all tired, right? I have not talked with a pastor or a church leader that is not just extremely tired. This has been a season, right? So my admonition to you as number 10 is number 10, we're all tired. Treat people well, right? Treat people well. I don't know how you're doing. I know I'm tired, but if you're tired, make sure you treat people well. It's really easy when you're tired not to treat people well. If you have somebody that's been kind of coasting and you've got to make a change, treat them well. Treat them well on the way out. If you hire someone, treat them well. Treat them well. Treat the people on your team well. Kind of goes back to the first 2. People stay where they grow, and treat your staff, like they've got one foot out the door. This is the year. I'm convinced of it. This is the year where you need to build into your staff. If you want to keep your current team, this is the year to build in to them. If there's anything that we can do here at Chemistry Staffing, you can reach out to me anytime. You can email me. It's Todd, Todd, .Rhodes, RHOADES, Todd.Rhodes at chemistrystaffing.com. And I promised you earlier in the video that we have a special resource that kind of goes through not necessarily these top 10 pieces of advice for 2022, but it gives you a kind of an overview of what we're seeing in the area of church staffing as it's related to the Great Resignation. So there will be a link in the comments here, and there'll be a link in the blog post, and anywhere that you're watching this, there will be a link. It's just chemistrystaffing.com/Great Resignation. You can go there, download the absolutely free PDF that has a lot of the things that we've been learning. And let me close by saying this. I mean, you've made it this far. We're about at the 21-minute mark. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for hanging in there. Not everybody's still here, so thank you for hanging in there. And know that at Chemistry Staffing, we're for you. We love the church. We love Jesus. And we are investing our lives in those that are investing their lives for the kingdom. So if there is any way that we can help you, any way that I can help you kind of navigate a hiring, a firing, a restructuring, anything to do with staff during 2022, please do reach out to me. I would love to have the opportunity to serve you and your church. And if there's any way any of our team at Chemistry here can help you, please just let us know. Thanks so much for watching this entire video. You're a champion for doing that. And I thank you very much.